Before we get into this, viewer caution is suggested. This whole thing is for entertainment only. What happens when a Democratic senator, a man who many progressives believed was one of the strongest fighters for their side, commits the unthinkable act of showing the incoming president normal human respect and basic professional manners? What happens next is not just a normal political disagreement on a daytime TV panel. It becomes a public moment. It becomes the moment when the comfortable disguise drops off and we see the controlling instinct underneath all the soft talk about unity, harmony, healing, working together. This is the story of how John Fetterman walked on to The View prepared to explain a totally normal meeting with President-elect Trump, only to face a table of hosts who simply could not accept that speaking to a political rival does not mean betrayal, and how his simple and direct answer exposed how empty the panel had become. A panel that always claims to support dialogue but instead pushes punishment for anyone who steps outside the approved lane. Before we go deep into this incredible face-off, make sure you understand what you are watching. This is not simply about one senator going to Mar-a-Lago or one daytime show disagreeing with that choice. This is about the actual sickness in American politics today. It is about turning political rivals into enemies to be destroyed. It is about treating normal professional respect like a moral crime. It is about the sad truth that suggesting cooperation with a president who was democratically elected now gets treated as a shocking act in certain media bubbles. The reaction on The View to Fetterman's normal and fair decision to sit with Trump showed everything wrong with Trump obsession. It exposed hosts who say they want bipartisanship while attacking anyone who actually practices it. What you are about to read is the breakdown of ideological capture so intense that normal behavior looks like rebellion, and how one senator's refusal to play team tribal games turned him into a champion for millions of people who are sick of non-stop political war. The setup for this conflict didn't begin on the View stage. It began at Joint Base Andrews, where John Fetterman, the hoodie-wearing, straightforward Democratic senator from Pennsylvania, spoke to reporters and did something that shook the progressive world. He said, without apology or careful spin, that he was going down to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President-elect Donald Trump. The reaction from the press was instant and predictable. Cameras fired like machine guns. Reporters shouted over each other, their voices packed with disbelief and hidden anger. A Democratic senator, not just any Democrat, but John Fetterman, the same guy progressives celebrated when he beat Dr. Oz, was willingly going to meet Trump. The same man they had spent 8 years calling a fascist, a dictator, a danger to democracy itself. "What are you planning to discuss with the president?" one reporter asked. The question sounding like a polite question but actually loaded with accusation. Fetterman answered in classic Fetterman style, blunt, funny, not filtered. "I'm asking to be appointed Pope of Greenland," he joked, his Pennsylvania accent making the dry humor land even funnier. The reporters did not laugh. They wanted a serious answer. They wanted him to admit he was crossing a sacred line. Another reporter tried again, asking if he had a set agenda. And this time, Fetterman gave the sentence that would shape this whole moment. The words that would become a rallying line for Americans tired of people acting like politics is a war where nobody can ever talk to the other side. "I'm just having a conversation," Fetterman said, his voice calm, like he was explaining something obvious. "This is going to be the president, and I am not just the senator for Democrats in Pennsylvania. I'm the senator for everyone in Pennsylvania, and my state picked Donald Trump as president." He paused, letting that fact stand in the air. Pennsylvania, the same state that sent him to the Senate, also picked Trump. This was not some deep red state where Democrats sometimes pretend to be friendly with Republicans to survive. This was his own voters, and if I have the chance to have that conversation, he continued, confident, like this was something he had thought about for real. "I bet we can find things to work on together for a better Pennsylvania and a better America. And that's why I'm doing this." It was such basic common sense, such simple democracy 101, that in a normal world, it would not have been newsworthy at all. A senator representing his whole state meeting with a president his state voted for. But in the modern progressive bubble, common sense has become rare. And John Fetterman was about to discover just how controversial basic professionalism had become in certain TV studios. The View studio had the type of energy that comes when the hosts think they smell a political victim. Fetterman's statement gave them a target. It gave them a chance to show off their moral purity. The panel that morning included the usual spectrum of their style: Whoopi Goldberg's dramatic outrage, Joy Behar's sarcastic attitude, Sunny Hostin's legal prosecutor tone, and they were prepared to punish Fetterman for daring to break the unwritten rules. Whoopi opened the segment sounding serious, as if she were reporting a major scandal. "John Fetterman is taking a lot of heat apparently for taking this trip," she said, setting the tone that his decision was already something he needed to defend. "But do you think his reasons are valid?" It was a setup, a softball thrown to invite the panel to attack. But something unexpected happened. One of their own hosts broke the pattern. Alyssa Farah Griffin, the safe Republican voice who usually criticizes Trump enough to keep her place at the table, actually defended Fetterman. "This is the most common-sense answer I have ever heard," Alyssa said with zero mockery. "He is a senator for an entire state, and his state turned for Donald Trump. So more than half of that state voted for the man who is becoming president." She explained the basic idea. Elected officials represent all their voters. Respecting election results is normal. Talking to the incoming president is not betrayal. "You are a senator heading into confirmation hearings," Alyssa added. "Your basic job is advise and consent. That's literally your role, and that is what he is doing." It was a strong defense because it was true. Fetterman wasn't selling out. He was doing what senators are supposed to do: talk to the president, find areas of agreement, work toward policy goals. But Sunny Hostin could not let that stand. Her entire brand, the entire resistance mindset, depends on Trump being treated as something beyond normal. If Trump is someone you can talk to like a human being, then the whole "he is a fascist monster" framing collapses. Sunny jumped in. "I don't like the optics of going to Mar-a-Lago," she said, sounding offended. She called it Trump's little palace and compared it to going to a religious shrine. Trump as prophet, Mar-a-Lago as holy land. In her framing, Fetterman wasn't meeting a president. He was doing a ritual to honor a false god. Then she used the phrase, "yucking it up," as if the idea of a friendly professional conversation itself was dirty. In Sunny's worldview, politics must always be a fight. If you treat the other side with respect, you are betraying the cause. But then Sunny slipped. She admitted something real. "This used to be normal," she said. "Presidents and leaders from different parties used to talk. Reagan and Tip O'Neill, Biden and Romney. That used to be part of the system." She herself admitted that. But then she added the pivot. "But Trump is not normal." And that one sentence is the core. That is the justification for breaking all the usual standards. That is the justification for treating basic interaction as treason. So she said yes. Fetterman might be technically right, but only if he still criticizes Trump often and loudly enough. In other words, you are allowed to meet, but only if you still show proper resistance behavior. Alyssa then asked the perfect question. What exactly did Trump do wrong by inviting a senator to talk? What abuse did he commit? Why is this so dangerous? And the panel had no answer. Sunny talked about optics again, but she could not name a real abuse. There was no abuse. Trump was doing what every president-elect does, building relationships, talking to senators, planning policy. Then they pivoted to Greenland. Sunny said she wanted him to stop mentioning Greenland because Greenland is not for sale. Anna Navarro said it was because Trump only cares about oil and money. But they ignored the real strategic value of the Arctic: minerals, military positioning, Russia, China. Alyssa tried to explain that there are actual national security reasons the U.S. cares about Greenland, but Anna cut her off. He doesn't care about that. This showed the panel's mindset. Assume the worst motives no matter what. And Joy Behar accidentally destroyed their whole argument. She said Trump can talk all he wants as long as no troops are sent anywhere, then just let him talk. This actually proves why talking is good. Talking prevents conflict. Talking is how politics is supposed to work. She actually made Fetterman's point, but they didn't see it. The segment ended with the same suspicious tone. They will watch Fetterman, judge him, and punish him if he ever stops showing hostility toward Trump while talking to him. What they failed to understand is that they turned Fetterman into the sane voice. By attacking a normal action, they made him the one reasonable character in a room full of people who act like casual conversation is dangerous.